huge changes are happening at WB. Apparently, a longtime Mortal Kombat developer is in charge now. He even produced MK9, I think, which is great news, and could signal that big changes are coming for Mortal Kombat fans. In fact, Sean Hemrick has been around since the Deadly Alliance days as a developer, which means he's worked on this game too. Yeah, could a sequel actually happen? In past videos, I discussed the likelihood of which game is next for NetherRealm Studios, and it came down to 3 possibilities: Mortal Kombat 13, Injustice 3, or Mortal Kombat vs. DC2. And honestly, that third game is the least likely to happen, but the possibility is not zero. And also, designing a roster for that game would be very fun. So let me know which characters you want most in the comments down below. And also, check out this new mug from GamerSubs. Looks pretty cool, right? How about this new shaker? Looks pretty awesome too, right? Oh, and check out this awesome mousepad. GamerSubs has some really cool stuff. And using my link down below gets you 10% off any purchase, and every purchase you make supports my channel directly. That's right, in other words, it's an absolute win. GamerSubs has so much awesome stuff to buy, and there's never been a better time to check out their website. They even have new shops in Europe and Australia, which means they deliver to you faster and for much cheaper, assuming you live outside the US, which I know many of you watching do, which is why there's never been a better time to check out GamerSubs. They support channels and gamers like myself, so please give their website a look. There's so much cool stuff there. But alright, onto the roster. NetherRealm games have around 20 to 25 characters, so I chose 24 because it gives us an equal number of DC characters and Mortal Kombat characters to play with. And it also allowed me to add 4 more characters from the previous game, which was neat. However, like Sonica XD pointed out, a game like this does deserve 30 characters minimum because it's 2 different franchises coming together, and I definitely agree. I would love for the game to have that many characters, but realistically and historically, NetherRealm's never done that, which is sadly why we're stuck at 24 characters for today's video. So next up comes the difficult part, having to decide which characters get replaced for the sequel, which is never an easy task, and you likely noticed that more DC characters got changed than Mortal Kombat characters, which I know makes me look biased, and honestly I most likely am, but also just look at the Mortal Kombat selection. It's nearly perfect, and I'm not joking, all the main characters are here, so swapping any of them was a tough decision, but here was my reasoning. There's some characters you just can't remove, like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Liu Kang, and Kitana. Some people want to pretend that Kitana's not necessary. She absolutely is. You need Kitana in every Mortal Kombat game, and I vehemently believe that. But then you have Jax and Sonya, who are missing from Mortal Kombat 1 as playable characters. They were just cameos, not main fighters. And as a result, you can't cut them either. They must be in this game because we're assuming it's the next NetherRealm game. Sonya and Jax can't be missing for 2 games in a row. It's unthinkable. And then Shang Tsung is there as the villain because he's perfect, right? Shang Tsung is the premier villain of the Mortal Kombat series, although theoretically you could replace him with Shao Kahn, and I think fans will be okay with that. He's a great villain also. So after that, we're left with 4 Mortal Kombat characters to decide on. I chose to swap Baraka for Reptile because they're both monster boys, and in my opinion, Reptile just has more fans, more people want to play as him than Baraka, so I think that switch is fair and valid. Plus, it's one more ninja character, which the series is known for. Then we had Kano, who sometimes is essential, but me personally, I'm a Kano hater, everybody knows this, and I think Mileena would be a much better pick than Kano. Because while Kano does have fans, and I won't deny that, there is a big chunk of Kano lovers out there, but Mileena fans absolutely dwarf them, alright, and it's not even close. In fact, I would argue that Mileena can't sit out for a single Mortal Kombat game, because we've seen how much the fan base freaks out when that happens. So next up is the new characters. Quan Chi feels like a given because we need more villains on the MK side, and he's a fantastic choice for that, but also he's the nemesis of Serena and Ashura, who I think could both be a fantastic wildcard pick on this roster. And believe me, this final character slot was such a tough decision. Originally it was Kung Lao because he feels like the best choice, but then I thought about Jade because everyone loves Jade and she's missing from Mortal Kombat 1, so for the next NetherRealm game she has to be there. But then my friends who saw this roster early, like the Fort Snake and Sonica XD, both said that 3 ninja ladies is too many, which I disagree with, but that's what they thought, along with some other friends of mine, which means Jade could be out and maybe Serena or Ashura would be a better pick because they're the villains of Quan Chi. That would be great for story reasons and also give the MK side some wild cards. And you know what? I'm choosing Serena because she's been missing for so many games and she kind of plays like Kano in Armageddon, so she has that gameplay element for him, kinda. Yep, that's who I'm going with, but anyone in the comments let me know who you would pick instead because I'd love to hear about it. Next up is the DC side, which as mentioned earlier had more changes. In other words, I swapped out more characters. Instead of Joker, we have Harley Quinn, mainly because Joker's been in both Injustice games and MK11 and the original MK vs. DC, so I think Harley Quinn deserves her shot. And gameplay-wise, she'll be similar to Joker, and her personality is similar too, especially if we keep her as an anti-hero instead of a good guy. And even though I love Lex Luthor as a comic book fan, he's not the best for fighting games. I think Black Manta or Brainiac would be a better pick because they still fight with advanced technology, similar to Lex Luthor and his battle armor, right? Next up we have Deathstroke, who I love, but he's already been in 2 NetherRealm games, so I'm thinking Lobo instead. Originally I was gonna say Bane because I wanted my big body grappler, but then I realized that Lobo could be the grappler along with an alien shotgun and other cool technology like that. So Lobo would still have Bane's gameplay, kinda, but with even more fun stuff to play around with, so I think Lobo would be better personally. Then we have Shazam, who I also love, but let's be real, he's pretty much Superman when it comes to his powers and abilities, along with the lightning powers which Raiden already has. So when you factor in those 2 things, Shazam is redundant. There is no reason to keep him on this roster. I loved him in Injustice 1 and I would love for him to come back, but realistically there's better choices here, which is why I chose Aquaman instead. His power set is completely unique for this roster, and that's a big deal. One of my biggest goals with this character select was to make sure that characters weren't doing the same things as each other. So for example, I would love to see Killer Frost or Captain Cold in this game. I absolutely would, but Sub-Zero is right there. He's the ice power character, so I don't want more than one ice power guy on this roster. Another great example is Cabal. Originally I had him on this roster, and then I noticed Flash, whose entire gimmick is super speed, so these 2 characters conflict, which is why I think Aquaman is a better pick. Some might argue he's similar to Black Manta, but not really, because Aquaman has hydrokinesis, he can summon animals from the deep, all that cool stuff, and Black Manta can't do any of that, so in my opinion those 2 characters are very different. Then finally we have Catwoman, who I also chose to replace, not because she's redundant or because fans don't love her. Honestly, Catwoman could be in this game and I'd be completely fine with that, but as mentioned earlier, one of my biggest goals with this roster is variety, and so I chose Hawkgirl because there's nobody else like her on this roster yet, who flies around with giant eagle wings. Which finally brings us to the new characters. Just like with the Mortal Kombat side, I was able to add 2 new characters for the DC roster, and this decision was difficult, believe you me, but I knew that fans wanted Beast Boy. Alright, everybody loves Beast Boy. He's been missing from both Injustice games despite all the fans raving about him and demanding he be added, or in other words, he's the most fan requested character by far, so he's going there. And then I thought, why not Raven? Because they're dating in the comics, they're both fan favorite characters from all of our childhoods because many of us grew up watching the Teen Titans cartoon, right? But then on top of that, Raven missed out on Injustice 2. She was only in the first game, so I say bring her back because all the fans want that to happen. Which means now finally we're done with the DC side as well, and the entire roster for Mortal Kombat vs. DC2 looks like this. I've made many dream rosters on this channel, and believe me when I say this roster was by far the most challenging because Mortal Kombat and DC especially have so many amazing characters to choose from. In fact, I know many of you watching are likely big DC fans, so let me know in the comments which characters you would have picked instead, not just for the DC side, but the entire roster in general. Let me know which characters you would have chosen, because for me personally, this is my perfect roster for MK vs. DC2. I know this game isn't very likely to happen, but if it did, I think this roster would be fantastic. It's got a great mix of heroes and villains, along with a couple of oddballs mixed in, which I think is always great for a fighting game roster, but let me know your thoughts down below. Another big challenge I forgot to mention was the story factor. You can't just add the favorite characters, right, from the comics or the games. You need a good mix of heroes and villains, and also make sure their interactions would be fun and entertaining. You can't just pick the fan favorites for that reason alone. But regardless, this video was fun to make, so thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check out GamerSupps. One last time, my reminder to check them out. Use my link down below for 10% off. Any purchase you make supports this channel, and you get some awesome swag as well, so it's an absolute win. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss any future videos. Come back next time, everyone, and as always, stay underdogs.